Welcome to Breaking Through with me, Kristen Rao Finkbeiner, powered by Moms Rising. We have a really important show for you this week. We start out talking about the attack on SNAP by President Trump and Republican leaders in Congress and how that's atypical because SNAP has long had bipartisan support. Following that segment, we dive into what's happening with voting rights in America and how you can make sure your vote counts. After that, we look at paid family medical leave and how it is advancing in states and lifting the state's economies, the state's businesses, and of course, the state's families. What you can do in your state is in that segment as well. And last but not least on our show, we talk about reproductive justice, choice, and freedom. We're going to jump right in with our first guest. Welcome back to Breaking Through with me, Kristen Rao Finkbeiner, powered by Moms Rising. We are super lucky to have a visionary and powerful leader with us today. I'm delighted to introduce Andrea Joy Campbell, who is the Attorney General of Massachusetts. Woo! Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I need to take this energy everywhere I go.
I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that you're fighting for families, for the economy, for businesses. I'm so excited that you're leading because we have a national emergency on so many levels.
Right.
One level is SNAP. 42 million Americans are about to lose SNAP.
That's right.
Because Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress have broke tradition, usually bipartisan support of SNAP, and for the first time in history are not using contingency funds to fuel SNAP at a time when we have Thanksgiving and holidays coming up and families are facing empty dinner plates. It is ridiculous. It's shameful. It hurts our economy, it hurts our businesses, it hurts our families. But you are coming through with incredible leadership. Can you share a little bit about your leadership in this area, including the lawsuit? Thank you, by the way.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, for everything that you do. Delighted to be on with you. Yes, I was really proud and remain proud to have co-led a coalition of over 22 AGs, 3 governors from states where the Republican AGs were unwilling to join us, in filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration for unlawfully withholding these SNAP funds for SNAP recipients. And as you described, this is 42 million Americans across the country, over 1 million people here in Massachusetts. And the majority of these folks are elders on fixed incomes, our seniors, of course, children, people with disabilities are most vulnerable. And never in the history of this country, including during a government shutdown, have we ever had a president or an administration stop funding of SNAP. And what's more shameful is the fact that there's millions, not just millions, billions available to continue to fund this program through a government shutdown, including $6 billion in a SNAP reserve fund. So we had the hearing today and we're waiting to hear the results.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much misinformation and disinformation coming out of the Trump administration about SNAP. And you said it, I'm going to repeat it. The majority of people who are on SNAP are either working and not earning enough to make ends meet because wages are so low, or are elderly or people with disabilities. We do not have any kind of ridiculous overuse of SNAP. Do you want to speak to that myth busting?
I really appreciate you lifting that up because it has been lost. This narrative that somehow only people sitting at home on a couch doing nothing are receiving these resources. That's not true. And maybe if it is, it's a small fraction of people. The majority of folks who receive these resources are working, some 2 or 3 jobs, trying to put food on the table for their families themselves. And of course, this not only helps individual SNAP recipients when we make these monies available, it helps our economy and our local economies. These are food grocers, local merchants, your local Walmart. Whatever store you're going to that receives these recipients, they are part of our economic infrastructure, not just in Massachusetts, but across this country. We disrupt these funds for these individuals. We also do the same by disrupting our economy. And I have to get personal. I grew up poor in the city of Boston, as you know. We had food assistance. My father was working, but he was recently incarcerated, trying to do the right thing so his children could have better. It was a temporary fix, but let me tell you, if we didn't have it, we would have went hungry. We would have went to school not being able to learn because we would have been hungry. So these are real people that would suffer the most harmful consequences if this administration doesn't get its act together.
150%. And I'm also glad that you brought up, in addition to sharing your story, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad you brought up the economic impacts.
That's
Even
right.
Republican studies say that for every $1 into SNAP, the economy is boosted by $1.73. And it's for the exact reasons that we just heard the Attorney General say. It's because if you have SNAP benefits, you are immediately spending them at the local grocery store, which then helps the truck driver who is driving the groceries to the grocery store, which then helps the farmer that is farming the food that goes onto the table. And speaking of food, I have a hair light on fire moment. Vegetables are up under Trump 40%. Coffee under Trump is up 33%.
That's right.
Eggs are still expensive. Healthcare costs are expected to skyrocket, an average of 75%, but 90% in rural areas. And Trumpflation is happening. So it is double awful, double shameful, double ridiculous to have SNAP benefits pulled for the first time right when the campaign promise of Donald Trump of lowering costs has been broken in such a big way.
That's right.
Do you want to talk about that balance between rising costs and SNAP?
Absolutely. And we're just talking about SNAP, but we're prepared if we need to be to also exercise our leadership to protect heat assistance, all the other funding that our people depend on. And to your point, the number one issue, not just in Massachusetts, but in this country, is affordability. Everything is too expensive. Our prescriptions, our food, our housing, you name it, childcare, schooling, education, everything. And yet we have an administration not looking to work with us, but working against us in addressing these issues. But I feel encouraged because even though we're holding the federal administration accountable with our lawsuits, we are also still doing this proactive work to ensure that prices are reduced in our state. We're putting money back into the pockets of workers and our elders and so much more in the millions, even though we don't have a federal partner.
I mean, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You need to be president. Thank you very much. Let's take that person out of office. I want to switch right now. Thank you so much. I love that you also brought up childcare because one of the other areas, and you named several, there are so many areas that are under attack by the Trump administration right now, but one of the areas under attack is also childcare. We're in a situation right now where Republican leaders and Donald Trump, in less than 2 weeks, due to this Republican shutdown, Head Start programs covering more than 58,000 children will face potential closure due to lack of federal funds. Childcare is one of the fastest growing costs in America, and
That's
Republican leaders are making it worse. Now, when we talk about what this means to our economy, when we make the economy worse, I love to remind people of this. It gets worse for everyone. Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians. On average, for instance, the U.S. economy loses $122 billion, that's with a B, billion dollars a year due to lost wages and revenue because parents can't get the child care they need. It pushes people out of much needed jobs. And so we see these Republican, well, they're not even traditional Republican policies. Again, these policies have traditionally been bipartisan. So I'm going to call them anti-MAGA, unpatriotic policies that are undermining healthcare. They're undermining SNAP. They're undermining childcare. They really hurt the economy and hurt their Republican constituents too.
That's right.
And what is your thoughts on that?
One thing I love about being an attorney general, not just in this moment in time, but we have real tools to fight back and hold this administration accountable. The number one, I think, most powerful elected official right now or appointed is your attorney general, because we can go to court. We can file lawsuits that will protect all of these investments that our people so desperately need for all of the reasons we just mentioned, including childcare. And while we do this work, even though I'm absolutely proud to be a Democrat, the substance and relief we are delivering for folks for NIH funding, clinical trials, including for pediatric cancer, we will fight the fight on childcare, heat assistance, SNAP, you name it. We deliver this relief regardless of what political party people are in and what letter is by their name, because we see the humanity in our people. We see folks struggling and family members struggling, and we know government can be positive and it should be used to help people, not harm them. And right now it is only Democratic AGs that are stepping up. Not one Republican AG joined the SNAP lawsuit or other lawsuits. And frankly, you have Democratic governors with a Republican AG joining our lawsuits because their Republican AG is nowhere to be found. So people should understand that government can be positive. It can deliver for everyone, regardless of your viewpoints. And frankly, the only people delivering in this moment in time are Democratic AGs, not our counterparts.
And that's so important. And you made me think of something.
Right.
Social Security was brought to you by Democrats. Medicaid and Medicare was brought to you by Democrats. Head Start was brought to you by Democrats. These programs are not programs on accident. They are here because over time, voters have prioritized that
right.
we together have these programs as a nation. And they traditionally have not been one political party or another is continuing to support maintaining them. So this is a break in the history of America. And when we're talking about that, it's important to note that the people who are going to be most adversely impacted by the rollback of these programs do live in Republican areas. So we have going on right now, the Republican MAGA leadership is out of step with their own constituents back home. I don't know what's happening, but I'm so thankful for you and the other AGs who are standing up for us. What is your advice? What's giving you hope? How can people take action? What should we do?
What's giving me hope is one, your energy. Keep it up. And I'm going to match it. My middle name is Joy. So I just have to stand in joy every single day. My children, I'm not just an AG, I'm a mom. I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. I look in their eyes. I want this country to be better when I'm gone for them, including the state. I'm also really inspired not only by the history of folks in this country, including Black folks that fought for me to become the first Black Attorney General of Massachusetts or be able to run for office, knowing they would never see the fruit of their labor. But I'm also inspired by people who continue to step up, to push government and to hold all elected officials accountable to deliver for them. And right now, I am blessed to be able to use an office to deliver for real people, not just in Massachusetts, but across this country. And I am proud of that because I don't forget why I do this work, whose I am, and most importantly, that government should be used for the positive of people, not to harm them.
Yeah, by and for the people with liberty and justice for all.
That's right.
You know, let's go there. Let's not go where this other direction that we're going as a country. That's not good. But the good news is we can turn it around. We still do live in a democracy. We still do get to change who's in office based on our votes. And what's your advice on that?
Get out and vote. And I think people now are reflecting on, did I vote before? Did I encourage others to do it? Don't look backwards, look forward. Your vote matters in your local elections, your state elections, and of course in your federal elections. And don't forget your attorney general. Who is your attorney general? What are they doing for you? Did they sign on to the SNAP lawsuit? Did they sign on to our climate infrastructure litigation that creates jobs and protects our climate and our infrastructure? Do they sign on to our NIH funding lawsuits that are protecting clinical trials for PTSD, Alzheimer's, adult cancer and pediatric cancer, and so much more? So get to know your attorney general, and at least know you have one in Massachusetts. So if you're in a state that you don't like, you can always come to Massachusetts. But become civically engaged and know that too is also enough. Each of us doing our individual part is enough. You're enough. Your listeners are enough. And we just have to keep fighting the fight and do it not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come.
I 150,000% agree with you. How can people follow you online and support you and watch what you're doing and learn from what you're doing in other states as well? Because you are doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So they can follow me at MassAGO, or AndreaCampbell.org, which you'll find our external channels. I just launched my re-election, so I'm getting back out there and really speaking to the work we're doing. But AndreaCampbell.org, and then of course, everything having to do with MassAGO.
I love it. I love it. We have like 30 seconds left. How did you first run for office? Because I'm so glad you did.
It's out of tragedy, losing my twin brother who died while in the custody of a prison system, both my biological parents being deceased, my mom going to visit my father who was incarcerated, died when I was 8 months old. And my father, I didn't meet until I was 8 because he was incarcerated, but he would die when I was in college at Princeton, first in my family to go to college. And so I see government as a tool for positive because I have seen the benefits of it personally. And it's my job to deliver for every American, but every person who chooses this great country, to ensure that they get the positive from government too.
Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. We're clear.
You're so fantastic. I really do want to vote for you for president. Can we please replace who's in?
You need to move to Massachusetts.
We have members in
putting
Massachusetts.
everyone to Massachusetts. We
Yes.
can build more housing and do all the things. But thank you for having me on and being flexible with the schedule, working with our Kennedy. I'm really grateful. Just delighted to be on your platform. And thank you to all of your folks in the background tech. I'm just grateful.
Well, we're grateful, and I'm grateful even more. And it's good to see you again.
You too. Hope to see you in person very soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. We're going to take a quick break, but stick around. We'll be right back talking with our next guest about voting rights. Yes, your voting rights. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Breaking Through with me, Kristen Rao Finkbeiner, powered by Moms Rising. I'm delighted and honored to have Judith Browne Dianis on with us. She's with the Advancement Project and so much more. Welcome, Judith.
Hi, well, welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited to be here because there is an attack on our democracy, an attack on our voting rights, an attack on our constitutional rights. I never knew that I would have to say, Mr. President, please read the Constitution. And I have said that a bazillion times in the last couple of weeks.
That's
both
right.
out loud and quietly to myself.
Mhm.
I've
That's
also had to shout from the rooftops that the only person in the United States of America who should be wearing a crown is Lady Liberty. Thank you very much. We're still going for liberty and justice for all. But Donald Trump is really undermining our democratic institutions and democracy. What's happening with voting rights right now?
Sure. Well, Kristen, voting rights has been under attack for quite some time, right? It's not new. It is not just a Trump thing, but for quite some time after the Voting Rights Act was passed, we saw a lot of gains in terms of people being able to vote, but also people being elected. And most recently, what we saw was that the Supreme Court has taken up a case which really could mean that the Voting Rights Act is close to death. It will be on its deathbed. This case is about redistricting. It comes out of Louisiana. And it's a fight where what we saw was that the courts had have required Louisiana to put in place two Black minority districts, majority Black districts, due to the population and due to their common interests around political issues. And then this case went up to the Supreme Court. And the argument that was held a few weeks ago really does feel like we are on the precipice of losing the Voting Rights Act because the Supreme Court is primed to take it down.
And can you share a little bit about why the Voting Rights Act is important to democracy in America and to reaching toward that goal of liberty and justice for all, meaning everyone?
Sure. I mean, so the Voting Rights Act of 1965 really was probably, most people say it was the best, the most impactful of all civil rights legislation that came out of the 60s. It was the thing that opened up the doors for people, for Black people especially, and Latino people to actually vote. But it does protect other classes of people to make sure that there's not discrimination in voting. But it also allows people to vote, minorities to vote for candidates of their choice. And that means when redistricting happens, that states cannot discriminate in how they draw the lines, right? Gerrymandering. And so it really has led to a diversity in Congress and in state legislatures, right? Like we have a Congressional Black Caucus, a Congressional Hispanic Caucus, a Congressional Asian Caucus, and that's because the Voting Rights Act has made it real for people to be able to vote in people of their choice.
And we all do better. Study after study show we all do better when who represent us in Congress reflects and respects who we are as a country.
That's
Reflects our contributions, reflects our needs. And truly, there are studies after studies after studies after studies. I can't even tell you rooms full of studies that show that diversity makes our nation stronger. Diversity makes companies earn more money. There's a Pepperdine University study of over 50 years of all corporate measures and found that diversity makes companies earn more money. Diversity makes the decisions, outcomes, and ideas stronger and more reflective of who we are. I mean, I could go on and on about the importance of everybody being able to vote, right? Everybody being able to have their contribution, their need, their voice heard, seen, and acted on. And the thing about democracy, I could go on for a long time, as you can tell. I'm sure you could too. I had some coffee. By the way, coffee's up 33%. That's Trump's fault. I'm very upset about that too. But the thing about democracy is that we can't take our hands off the wheel of democracy. Democracy is supposed to be continually refreshing, continually updating to who we are as a country. It's not supposed to be going backwards. It's not supposed to be regressing and pulling our rights away. It's supposed to be advancing and evolving with us as we move forward as a country. And right now we have actually, I don't even know if this is a word, I'm making it up, a de-evolution. I'm like, we're going backwards, people. Donald Trump is undermining our rights. And that hurts our economy. That hurts our communities. That hurts our country. That is un-American. It's unpatriotic, and it's wrong. And I just wanted your take on this too, Judith.
Yeah, I mean, we have, our country has been on a journey towards really being a true democracy where we, the people, actually comes to fruition. And unfortunately, there are a lot of forces in this country that don't want us to all have a voice, don't want us to have a seat at the table, don't want Congress to look like America and to represent all of America. And so that's what we're seeing is we're seeing a rollback. We're seeing a rollback to where actually it's really white men, quite frankly, who are the ones who are rolling back and trying to really block the rights of all of us. And so voter suppression has been ongoing. And this is why we're fighting for the Voting Rights Act, because there is still discrimination in voting. We see states across the country making it harder to vote. And that's because there are elected people who don't want us to vote because they know that if we do, they may not be sitting in the seats that they are because they don't represent our interests. And so the Voting Rights Act has been key to that, to giving us a robust democracy. And now we're in a moment where they want to roll back everything, right? From abortion to voting rights to employment discrimination and fair housing laws. They're taking us backwards, and that's why we have to stand up and fight. The Supreme Court is really bad on these issues, but ultimately, it's the people who take to the streets, who do vote, who are the ones that will make sure that we secure the multiracial democracy that we deserve.
We deserve, and that is actually what is American people, a multiracial democracy. I'm so mad about what Donald Trump and the MAGA movement are doing. And I'm really glad you brought up voter suppression, because what we're also seeing is the same time as the Voting Rights Act is under attack, a whole bunch of really ridiculous, awful, bad voter suppression laws going into effect in states across the country. And I have worked, and I know Judith has worked for many, many years. You don't want to know how many years me personally has worked. And getting out the vote, right? Reminding people to vote. People, we do not have a problem with overvoting in America. We have a problem with undervoting in America. There is no need to suppress the vote. We already, of all industrialized nations, have one of the lowest voter turnout rates in the world, right? And so when you hear about a problem that requires, quote, voter regulation, what you're really hearing is somebody talking who knows they will lose the re-election if they do not suppress the vote. So people who are pushing for all of these ridiculous voter suppression bills know that they will lose. They are losing if they do not suppress the vote. And that's important because we have never been what the dream of America could be yet. We're still striving to be that more perfect union. And in doing that, We need everybody engaged, right? The only way to become the more perfect union is to have everybody engaged. And so I just wanted to ask you, because I know you've worked on this too, does it make your hair light on fire with anger when you see these voter suppression laws passing in the states when there is actually a problem with people turning out to vote, not people overvoting?
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy that we're still seeing these laws being passed, right? Because we should, like you said, we really should be encouraging more people to vote. You think about like there are city elections where like some of like the turnout could be lower than my high school graduating class, right? In New York City. And that's awful. And then we have people who want to make it smaller than that. And then the voter suppression laws are typically targeting particular populations, right? They target Black people, they target Latino people, they target trans people, they target women, right? Making it harder with voter ID. You know, as someone who got married, has two last names, I know how difficult it is to get a new ID, right? And so those kinds of laws are really about tinkering at the edges to shave off votes and to make it harder so that people will just give up. And really what we should be doing is encouraging more people to participate, making sure it's easy for them, right? It's easy to vote. People are doing everything online right now. So the idea that you have to go through 5 million hoops to vote is horrible. And so that's where we need to get to a place where it is easy for Americans to participate and to have their voices heard.
150,000% agree. You mentioned a little bit about what people can do to help open the aperture of voting instead of close it, including dealing with this U.S. Supreme Court potential disaster on the Voting Rights Act. What are the things that people could do if they're fired up right now? They're like, yes, I want to vote. I want everybody to vote. What can they do?
Right. Well, a few things. One is that we still need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which is in Congress. We keep introducing it and we need to keep pushing for it. It would be a fix to what the Supreme Court has done to the Voting Rights Act so far. And then in states, right, people need to be pushing for state level voting rights acts. Like we, Advancement Project worked on one in Virginia. That's the first Southern state with a voting rights act that protects people to ensure that there isn't discrimination in voting. And then, like you said, we need to turn out. But we also need to talk to our friends, our cousins, et cetera, about the importance of voting. Because the more that we vote, the more we'll be able to vote out those jokers who are trying to take our right to vote away.
100%. So, what is giving you hope in this moment where there's just honestly an assault on democracy in the most unpatriotic way, by the way?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, what's giving me hope are the people who are in the streets, people who are showing courage. And that courage is contagious, right? And to see people standing up to the feds, standing up to ICE, taking to the streets for the No Kings protests, people are over this, right? People are fighting back. And, that's how we know we're going to be okay. Because the people are saying, we're fighting back, we're not sitting back, this is not okay, and what is happening is not normal. And so as long as we show that we are against this and our dissent, even though they try to even make it hard for us to actually use our First Amendment rights, we're going to be okay in the end.
Yep, that's true. We're going to be okay because we're all together. That's
right.
The beauty of democratic institutions. That's the beauty of organizing. And to have 7 million plus people turn out on No King's Day is no small thing, you all, because there's so many people who couldn't go out that day because they were working or had other obligations who weren't even represented. So that 7 million is the tip of the iceberg. So if you're ever feeling alone, if you're ever feeling like, oh, I shouldn't keep fighting for change, then no, you're not alone. And also know that this is a marathon, not a sprint. First, we have to make sure that we have more accountability in the House and the Senate. And there's elections coming up in 2026. Right now, ridiculously, I can't even believe it, the U.S. House is led by Republicans who have said, we are going to leave, go on vacation, not get involved in helping to protect healthcare costs from going up 75%, because in part or in large part, they don't want to release Epstein files. They're scared. So they left actually Washington, D.C. I cannot believe it. They left Washington, D.C. That's a dereliction of duty right there. I cannot even believe it. I'm beside myself. I've worked in
Right.
politics for 923,000 years. So this is something that is totally not normal. So this not normal cannot continue. So thank you so much, Judith Browne Dianis, for your leadership, for your advocacy, for your persistence, for
Thank
your
you.
vision, and for all you do, including being on today.
Thank you.
We have to take a quick break, but don't go away. Next up, paid family medical leave, how it passed in California and how it can pass in your state. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Breaking Through with me, Kristen Rao Finkbeiner, powered by Moms Rising. We're joined by a guest you're going to love, 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 love with extra love hearing from, who has some moments of hope to share with us. Katie Duberg with the California Work and Families Coalition. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here too, because you have hope as we met at that. Sorry, redo. I'm going to redo the intro.
Sounds good.
Okay. And Katie, did I pronounce your name right?
You did. Thank you for
Okay,
asking.
Okay. Welcome back to Breaking Through with me, Kristen Rao Finkbeiner, powered by Moms Rising. I'm really excited that you're here with us today because we have some news of hope and change and more hope. We have Katie Duberg with the California Work and Families Coalition. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
We're so excited you're here. So, speaking of hope and change, what is the California Work and Family Coalition all about? What does it do?
That is a great question. We are a statewide coalition in California. We actually came together in 2002 to help lead the campaign to pass paid family leave in California. California was the first state to have a paid family leave program in the country, and we have been working together ever since to make sure people know their rights, to make sure our policies are implemented well, and to advocate for improvements via policy change.
And when we talk about advocacy, what does that mean? That means organizations, it means people, it means lots of things. What does it mean?
It means all of the things that you said. I think fundamentally it means kind of speaking up about your experiences, about what's important to you, to those with the power to make change, and making sure that we create opportunities for people to come together and do that as a group as well.
I love this because when we come together as a group, when we bring all of our individuals into a tsunami of change, then change happens. And you have a lot of changes that you can share have happened in a really positive way. You mentioned that you came together around paid family medical leave. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about what that policy is and why we love it so much?
I can. Thank you for asking. So paid family and medical leave essentially is a policy or a policy idea that if you are sick, your loved one is sick, or you need to bond with a new baby and you need to take leave from work in order to take care of yourself or a loved one, that you should be able to do that. And you should be able to get pay while you're on leave, and you should be able to return to your same job when you come back from leave. And so what paid family leave in California sort of started or does is it makes sure that people can take leave to bond with a new child or to care for a seriously ill family member. And then we also have disability insurance, which allows people to take leave for their own serious health condition.
And one of the things that we've learned about paid family medical leave from the states that have passed it, including California, over a dozen states have passed paid family medical leave, including California, is that it actually saves money, saves lives, keeps people in the labor force, and businesses like it too. So when we're looking at saving money, what's interesting is that there's a 40% lower need for TANF and SNAP in places like California where they have paid family medical leave. There's lower infant and maternal mortality. And there's higher productivity in the labor force. And since it's a social insurance program, businesses like it too. And I feel like businesses are the part that we don't talk about the most because most people are like, oh, businesses are going to hate it. But it actually turns out businesses love it. Can you share a little bit about why businesses like paid family medical leave?
I can. That was an amazing summary of all the reasons why these policies are so important. I think fundamentally, really, this is a policy where everyone wins, right? The person taking leave wins, the person receiving care or the infant receiving care wins, lowers healthcare costs because people are more likely to fully recover and get preventative care. And when all of those things happen, employers win too, right? I think the other sort of element that I would highlight is that paid family leave allows workers to take leave for a little bit of time and then return to their jobs. And that ultimately benefits businesses as well, because it improves employee morale and productivity, and improves employee retention. And we've seen all of that in California as a result of our paid family medical leave programs.
It's so important. And, you know, everybody who has a baby in the United States of America should have time off to recover, to bond with the baby. Everybody who has a significant illness should have time to get better, or if a close family member has a significant illness, should have time to be there when it really matters. Yet, not everywhere has that in the United States of America, but actually on the planet Earth, this is the norm. We are only one of 6 countries that don't have some form of paid family medical leave when a new baby arrives. So California is doing a great job of catching up with the rest of the planet, even as many, many, many states in the United States haven't done that yet. We're hoping one day to have a national policy too. So you just recently have expanded on the policy, had a major win with SB 590. It was just signed into law by California Governor Newsom. What was in it?
So very happy to be here and talk about this. What SB 590 will do when it goes into effect July 1st, 2028, is it will make sure that people can use paid family leave to care for a member of their chosen or extended family. And this is really important because it's going to update our paid family leave program to reflect how Californians are already caring for each other. So it'll mean that people can care for their unmarried partner, their best friend who's become like family to them, their aunt, their uncle, their cousin, folks who, until this bill was signed into law, were not included in our family definition. And this issue has disproportionately important impact for older adults, LGBTQ folks, and immigrant communities, all of whom are more likely to rely on chosen or extended family for care.
And when we talked about this policy, we talked about it being a win-win-win-win. It's a win for businesses, it's a win for the local economy, it's a win for families, it's a win for public health, it's a win for your personal health. And so I love that in states like California, that actually has had paid family medical leave the longest of any state in the United States of America, the expansions are happening as the data comes in that, yes, paid family medical leave boosts businesses and boosts families alike. So actually expanding paid family medical leave boosts California as a whole. And California, if it was a country, would be the 5th largest economy on the planet Earth. So this is a big deal. What did it take to get that policy passed?
It's a great question. Fundamentally, I think a lot of people came together and said, this is really important to me and my community. And that's ultimately what resulted in this law passing. People have spoken up about their experiences and how significant and important it is to be able to be there for their loved ones when their loved ones need them. We were really lucky to work with Senator Durasso on SB 590 and Assemblymember Wicks on AB 1041, which previously expanded our job protected leave and paid sick leave to include chosen family as well. And of course, we're very grateful to Governor Newsom for signing this bill into law, both bills into law.
And when we talk about people reaching out, this is really important. People are like, what does that mean, reaching out to your state legislators? Like, how would you do that?
That is a great question. State lawmakers have phone numbers on their website, so you can give them a call and say, hey, I'm a constituent, I live in your community. This issue is really important to me. And at California Work and Family Coalition, we're really committed to trying to make it as easy as possible for people to reach out directly to their lawmakers and educate them about the issues that are impacting them and their communities.
So you can call your state legislator or your member of Congress or your governor or basically any elected official. You can write to them. You can write to them through an organization. You can write to them also through, usually a lot of them have web platforms that you can write in on. You can make a meeting with them. You can deliver stories to them. You can have a lot of different ways to communicate your priorities to elected leaders. And one of the best ways is to find an organization who you agree with, like, for example, the California Work and Family Coalition, and then join in together with an organization who is doing all of the research on when are the most important times to raise your voice and how. So, like, is this bill in a committee or is it on for a floor vote? What's happening? that needs a staff to cover. So thank you for being the staff that covers the ways that people can take action in the most effective ways, since people are really busy. So find an organization like Moms Rising or like California Working Families Coalition, and then you can direct your action to the moments when it really matters, because we know you are busy. Can you talk a little bit about how this bill differs from previous legislation related to paid family medical leave in California, and why it's so important to our communities of workers, parents, caregivers, and families to have robust paid family medical leave bills?
Sure. So what this bill is really focused on is how do we define family in our paid family leave program. So I think when most people think about paid family and medical leave, they think about baby bonding leave, right? But paid leave is also really important for family caregivers who are caring for a loved one with a serious illness. So that could be a parent with Alzheimer's, a spouse with cancer, a sibling who's recovering from surgery, right? People may need a couple weeks of leave to take care of that person and then return to work. And so what this bill is really focused on is let's include all families in how we define family, right? Let's make sure that we are defining family in a way that reflects how Californians are caring for each other. And that may mean that your best friend has become part of your chosen family, or that it's really your niece who is seriously ill and needs your care. And so allowing folks to use paid family leave to care for a designated person who's a member of their chosen or extended family kind of matches the moment in terms of how Californians are caring for each other.
And when does this go into effect? People are really excited about it.
So this bill goes into effect July 1st of 2028. It's really important for folks to know that there's really two pieces to paid leave in California. There is how you receive pay while you're on leave, which is paid family leave. And then there's our job protection laws under the California Family Rights Act, and then also paid sick leave. So right now, you can take unpaid job protected leave to care for a designated person who's part of your chosen family, and you can use your paid sick leave to care for a member of your chosen or extended family. And then in 2028, you will also be able to receive paid family leave to care for a member of your chosen or extended family.
I love it so much. Let's talk about paid family medical leave as a whole in California. So a lot of people don't realize that California has paid family medical leave. What are the parameters in California? How long do you need to be in your job, and how long do you get?
That is a great question. I'm going to do my best to answer it in the simplest, clearest way possible. I would recommend that if folks want to learn more about these laws, they visit our website. We have a great resource hub that breaks all this information down. But really, there's two pieces to how paid leave works in California. One is receiving partial pay. All private sector and some public sector employees contribute to the Disability Insurance Fund, which funds disability insurance and paid family leave, which are our wage replacement programs. So that's how people will get partial pay while they're on leave. And this year, actually, workers making less than about $63,000 a year can qualify for 90% of their regular income while they're on leave. Separately, it's really important for folks to understand how they qualify for job protection under pregnancy disability leave and the California Family Rights Act. And that is how people can make sure that their employers are required to give them their job back when they return from leave. So again, I would direct folks to our website. We have great resources that help kind of break this down depending on the reason why you need leave, whether it's for your own health condition, to care for a loved one, or to bond with a new baby.
Love it. So speaking of, go to your website, how can people find you, support you, get involved, stay involved? What URL are they going to? And where are you on social media?
Great question. Our URL is www.workfamilyca.org, and we are on social media at @workfamilyca, and we welcome folks getting involved. I think that really, we're going to continue to make change just by people speaking up about their experiences, why these issues are so important, and why we should all be able to be there for our loved ones and recover from our own illness.
And as people are listening and they're in states that don't have paid family medical leave, what's your advice of hope?
Well, there are lots of advocates in many states working to pass these kinds of policies or improve policies. So I would definitely look to local organizations who are leading this work. It is possible to make change if enough of us kind of come together and speak up with a united voice about the issues that matter to us.
150% possible, everyone. Particularly right now at the state level, it's possible to make significant, positive, proactive changes that lift every family. This is a great example of one of those states that are doing this. But I just want to tell everybody out there, don't give up. Persistence is key. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to take a quick break, but don't go away. Next up, reproductive justice, choice, freedom, and you. We'll be back in a flash. Welcome back to Breaking Through with me, Kristen Rao Finkbeiner, powered by Moms Rising. I'm so glad you're joining us because we have a very special guest to join us right now in conversation. Norbese Flint, who's with All Above All, and a recent quote from Norbese has been going around the Moms Rising staff room, and we've been sharing it, and I'm going to read it to you as we introduce her. She said, whether it is the largest cut to healthcare in our country's history or ripping food away from children to line the pockets of the wealthiest among us, the Trump administration and its pro-natalist agenda are a slap in the face of hardworking families in America. Their strategy is simple. Force people into pregnancy while cutting off the very supports families need, from childcare to Medicaid coverage. The result is a looming disaster in pregnancy care and in family health access across the country. In real terms, millions of people are getting kicked off their health care. There's a possibility of 200 reproductive health clinics, including clinics that provide sonograms, fertility clinics, and prenatal care closing. A national backdoor abortion ban is imminent, and more American children are going hungry at night. But please, tell us more about how more Americans should be having children, end quote. Standing ovation! We so agree and are thankful for you raising that. Can you talk about how all of this is happening against a backdrop where healthcare consistently ranks as a top 3 concern of voters across the political spectrum? What's going on?
Yeah, so I think, oh God, there's so much to unpack, right? So
much.
first we have the healthcare issue, or healthcare crisis that is happening, where right now the government has been shut down, I think 29, 30 days now. And it is particularly because of healthcare and healthcare subsidies, right? And it's the difference between people being able to have healthcare for their family and not being able to have healthcare at all. And we know that particularly for birthing folks, for women, healthcare is incredibly important for all types of regions all through your life, but particularly for labor and delivery. If you choose to have prenatal care and labor and delivery, all those things are something that you need healthcare, and you need healthcare all the time. For people like myself who've had a child, you're there once a month and then once a week and then all the pieces, right? So we know that healthcare is a big issue. And on the same time that they are stripping away healthcare, we also see this big, weird push around to like force people to have more babies, right? And I see it as I'm going to date myself now, kind of like a Power Ranger, when the Power Rangers got together and we had that big kind of thing, or like a Transformer piece. There's a whole bunch of like anti-choice folks and white supremacists and all these other folks that are coming together to have and push this pro-natal agenda that is really, again, really about reinforcing these like traditional values around women and their place, which is at home and not working and taking orders and being essentially a subservient.
This is dangerous, this direction that the MAGA pronatalists are going. And some people may be like, why is it dangerous? Why is having babies dangerous? What's the way in which the framing, the structure around having babies is happening? And I agree with you, it's so much to unpack. But let me just start by some of the biggest pro-natalist agenda people were Mussolini and Hitler. They had motherhood awards, and it was all about pro-natalist for a certain group of people and not for other people. This is dangerous. And so when we see this happening in a way that is sometimes framed as, you know, you should have more babies, but only if you're walking in a field of lavender barefoot and somehow miraculously have money falling from the sky to feed your baby, as we have made it so that people still experience pay discrepancies, so that we make it so that people don't have childcare, that people don't have access to healthcare. It's like an untenable situation to have more children into that the Republicans are creating. And it gets confusing because the messaging is from Republican MAGA, have more babies. And then the messaging in action is stripping away healthcare, stripping away childcare, stripping away access to SNAP and WIC, stripping away everything that is allowing people to build good lives. So it is bad. That's what I have to say. If we want people to have the choice to have children, to build a family, people need to have bodily autonomy, and they need to have access to structures that allow people to build good lives. And all of that is confusing to even say. As I'm saying, I'm like, each word that I'm saying needs to unpack more. So can you unpack some of that for us?
Yeah, so I think one of the pieces, if we're thinking about the pro-natal folks, right, and why is it so dangerous? One, it is for some of them, they're particularly pushing a certain type of folk to get to have babies, right? So it's really a eugenics agenda.
Yes, that part.
We've seen that. I think Elon Musk is probably the biggest example of that piece, right? Who is trying to like repopulate the world by himself with his like legion of women. But it's only a type of person that they're trying to see to have children, right? So we have that piece going on. But we also have just this idea around gender roles and what that looks like. We all know that one of the reasons, the number one reasons why women leave the workforce, it is because of child rearing, right? And so when you have and push an agenda that is forcing people to be pregnant against their will, and then have babies, and then not actually have the support and the safety net programs to support that, whether it's parental leave, whether that is childcare, whether that is food and housing and fair wages. What that means is, in actuality, is that a lot of women end up having to pull out of the workforce and to stay home and provide that type of real work, right? A lot of times we don't think about of stay-at-home work as real work. That is real paid work that somebody has to do in the household. And that is what they are trying to do, right? They are trying to get folks and women out of the workforce back into the home for unpaid labor.
And the question is, how does this match with reality? I mean, so 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. That, what do? You've pulled out of the labor force and you have no income and you're trying to raise kids. Also, according to Johns Hopkins University, 56% of babies born to millennials are born to single parents. So what do you do if you have no income? And in addition, most studies show that the wages of moms are needed to make ends meet for the majority of families. So yes, I am all in for a choice. I want people to be able to choose if, when, and how they're going to have children. I want people to be able to choose if, when, and how they're going to balance work and children and life. I want people to have maximum choices, maximum responsibility in their own lives. But to push people into, you cannot be in the labor force, you cannot have bodily autonomy, you cannot have economic autonomy is what we're talking about. That is not okay. And I didn't mention one other thing. Domestic violence is still rampant in the United States of America. What happens if you're pushed out of the labor force and you don't have economic autonomy in any way, shape, or form? Then you're stuck in dangerous situations for yourself and your child in many instances, not all. So I just get really mad. I was raised by a single mom. Hello. And I'm like, what are these people thinking about magically how you materialize some type of situation that has never been there anyway for anybody? Well, has been there for some people, to your point. What are your
Right.
thoughts?
Well, I mean, what you're talking about is the crux of why reproductive justice framework was invented, right? It was a framework that came from Black women after the Cairo conference that really was like, as much as we fight for the right to not have children, we need to fight for the right to have children because of all these intersectional issues. We know that to have in full autonomy over your life, to have and really be able to choose and decide what is happening to your family. That means you actually have to have autonomy in the labor. You have the autonomy and be able to have access to housing. You're not making decisions about your whether if you're having a family that is free and full and thriving, if you are deciding that because you can't not make enough money to pay your rent, or you are not able to have enough food in your to put on the table for your family. Those are decisions that no parent, no people, not a person should have to figure out how, particularly in a country that is as rich as ours, right? And if the pro-natalist folks, right, which are really, we need to think of another word for them, right? They're anti-women folks, right? If
Yes.
they were serious about actually believing in families, they would make it easier to be a family. As a
Yes.
mom of a toddler, well, not a toddler anymore, he's 4, um, right? I just think about like how much work it is, how much it costs for childcare, which is the second highest bill in my house after our housing. The think about the food and the figuring out all the different pieces and all those things is why I don't have another child. So like if we really want to talk about how to really lean into a family agenda, right? It is actually leaning into a reproductive justice agenda because it would make it easier for folks to really have families that are thriving, not just surviving.
150%. And not only do I agree with you, a new poll that you all just did at All Above All shows that pretty much everybody agrees. We have about 2 minutes left. Can you share about that new poll?
Yeah, so we were looking at and wanting to see if we depoliticize the values, depoliticize the things that we care about. Where do Americans feel? Where were they at on the pieces? Do we have a problem where people don't agree with us, or do we have a messaging problem or a messenger problem? And what we found out is that when we depoliticize the words, right, and our values, that people actually agree with us in overwhelming percents, right? People believe that we should have affordable childcare. People believe that we should be able to have health care. It is actually a top 3 issue of all Americans. People believe in climate change. People believe that the government should be doing something about these pieces. And so we know that our work is not having to try to pull people into the conversation of like giving them to believe where we are. Actually, the majority of Americans believe exactly that people and families deserve to have thriving, joyous lives, and that the government has a role to play in that piece. What we need to do now is to figure out how to make sure that our message and our policies match our values and where the American public already is.
And people need to have time to care for their children, time to care for themselves, time to go to work, time to make choices about their own lives. And all of those policies, childcare, paid family medical leave, healthcare, provide the time to be able to do all the things. Right now, everybody's trying to do all the things all at once. And it is next to impossible. You can only keep so many plates spinning. And we need the wages of moms, the majority of families do, to make ends meet. It's just a truth, right? And so to have the pro-natalist movement be the most radical hypocrites that I've ever seen on the planet Earth and say more babies, but less time, less choice, less opportunity to thrive is so annoying. So thank you. It's beyond annoying. It's hurtful to our country. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being on with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Appreciate, always happy to be.
Thank you. Well, that's it for our show today. Thanks so much for tuning in as we tackle the top topics facing our nation in a way that requires the most boring disclaimer in the history of the planet Earth. Here goes. Views expressed on this show are those of the individual speakers and should not be attributed to Moms Rising, to this station, or to any news or social media service that may disseminate a recording of this show to the public or to any segment of the public. Boom! We'll catch you next week.